All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the technology demonstration Questions for the Record at the Budget Line of Business Spring 2022 Virtual Forum. My name is Aisha Suresh, and I'm with the Budget Line of Business Program Management Office. The Budget LoB PMO works with our partner agency budget offices to develop modern, adaptable, and cost-effective solutions for the federal budget community's process, technology, and training needs. I will be managing the chat box today. If you have any questions for our speakers throughout the session, you can type those into the chat, and we will get to them throughout or at the end of the session. If you do not have access to Microsoft Teams and have questions, you will have an opportunity at the end of the session for questions. Until then, please remain on mute and off webcam while the presenter is speaking to reduce background noise. After the final session today, we will be sending out a post-session survey that will only take a few minutes of your time. Whether you attended one session or multiple sessions, we welcome your feedback so that we can improve future Budget LoB trainings and events. If you have any questions following the forum, please let us know at budgetlob@ed.gov. First, I'd like to thank our ASL interpreters, Renee Soluret and Antonio Goodwin, for joining us today. As a reminder, please speak slowly and clearly to enable access for deaf and hard of hearing participants. I'm excited to introduce our speakers. Allison Fox is a project coordinator for the Connect.gov program at USDA. She held various budget leadership roles in the District of Columbia government for over 10 years before becoming a consultant to implement Treasury's budget formulation and execution manager system in 2010. She worked for BFEM until 2023, implementing and sustaining the system at a dozen federal agencies. Dane Engler works with the Budget Line of Business through USDA. He is supporting the JIRA projects on flow.connect.gov for the Budget Line of Business. He is currently leading one of the development teams on JIRA updates and new functionality. He has worked with the Budget Line of Business and other government partners for over 5 years, building out budget processes and tools. He is excited to resolve problems and create new solutions. With that, I will hand it over to you, Allison. Oh, Allison, I think you're muted.
My sound okay?
Yes, perfect.
Great. Okay, thank you, Aisha. Dane and I are happy to be here today to talk about and demo the new LoB QFR tool. I'll spend a couple of minutes talking about QFRs and some of the assumptions behind building the tool. And after that, we will jump into our demo. Please ask questions in the chat. We want lots of questions. Slide 4, please. So what are questions for the record, also known as QFRs? QFRs are a set of questions sent by a congressional committee to an executive agency for response. Questions can come from the House or the Senate after congressional hearing, and members ask the questions for additional follow-up or clarification from a hearing or just new questions that they may have. Some of the assumptions we considered when building the tool was that the QFRs can come in any time of the year. They don't have to be just for a budget hearing after the budget is sent to the Congress. They can come from the House or the Senate. There can be a number of questions. There can be a number of sub-questions. A question or a part of a question may require responses from more than one component or bureau or office. QFRs require review at all levels of the agency, as well as from the Office of Management and Budget. And QFRs need to be assembled and sent back to Congress in one document. Slide 5, please. Some features of the new QFR tool, which we will see shortly, is the ability to import the QFR information, including member questions, the numbering convention of the questions, who's assigned to respond to the questions, and other data into one file. Also, admins can manage the questions the SharePoint file, and other document generation on one screen. The agency will be able to create a customized workflow and notification scheme. Agencies will be able to submit through the tool to OMB for approval, and OMB can send the file back through the tool to the agency. Users are able to co-edit and collaborate within the SharePoint frame. And our current customers are Department of Commerce and HUD. And Commerce, we are expecting to go live here in the next couple of weeks. We've had a great time working with them on this project. And HUD, we are in the requirements gathering phase to have them live in fiscal year 2026. So on that, I will hand it over to Dane to start the demo. And Dane, feel free if you need me or whatever, I'll stay on and watch.
Yep, thank you, Allison. All righty. Well, thank you everyone for coming today. My name is Dane Engler, and we're going to be looking at the QFR system that we've kind of just finished for DOC and hopefully for other agencies, as Allison had said. What you're looking at here is the cycle dashboard. Envision a cycle being the document that the House or the Senate sends over for a given round, where it might be 10 representatives or 3 senators with a handful of questions that need responses to. Now, for sake of time, we're going to look at some pre-generated ones. If we do have some extra time at the end, we can try to create some. The issue being SharePoint on our production instance is a little on the slow side, and so it works, but the timing is a little slow, and because we don't have a lot of time, we're trying to kind of get through things. So for the cycle, as Allison was mentioning earlier, about a file to upload, we have 2 different ways of starting this thing off. You can start with a flat file, and I'll show you an example of that, in Excel with all your kind of questions and representative information, or you could do it ad hoc. If you need to, midway through, you're going to have to add one that's for quarter 2 for some reason for 1 senator, and then you must answer some questions. You can do that. We're going to look at the Excel file. It's very, very basic. This is a CSV file, basically just the senator or representative's name. In this case, we're looking at senators, the hearing date that occurred, your POC. In my case, I have my name and then incremented a description of some sort. This is where Allison mentioned about the unique question ID, which we'll be using later for the document assemble, who you want to assign it to, so who's going to be doing the response to the question you're going to be giving them. In this case, we can have 1 or we can have many, as you see NOAA and NTI here. And then they have a question 13. Now, where you'd go to do this is we have a little globe. You'd click the globe. You'd indicate this is my Q3 QFR. You could choose a fiscal year. And all of this metadata could always be updated depending on the agency, right? We can add in quarters or other values. I'm going to add some note information here and then a due date. And then we'd go over here and then we'd go ahead and we'd upload our file. So I'm going to go here and upload this demo bulk create. So you see how that loaded in there? We would then click this bulk create QFR cycle button, and that would actually go through and start processing all this. It does take some time, so we're not going to press that because it does take time, and we can't really navigate away why it's working. So we're going to go to the home. My next thing here is to create one ad hocly, which basically
Dane, do you want to see if people may have questions after that?
Yes.
A lot of good information.
Does anyone have any questions? Allison, are you seeing them in the chat? Could you tell me?
No, I don't think so. Nope. Okay.
Okay. So now we're going to create one ad hoc, and so this can be my main demo, and we can say 2025. I'll say the house notes. We can choose a due date here. We're going to say this Friday. It's coming up soon. So now we're going to go and create here. Now this is going to load us into our representative dashboard. as we can see, it's going to give you the name of basically the cycle that you're on, and in my case, it's the my main demo, and we're in the house. This is where we would then go, because this is an ad hoc cycle, you would go then and create your representative. So if I hit the plus button here, we'll see we get a new pop-up for the member document. We have the type preloaded because we know we're on the house side. Our member names are also restricted to just the house individuals. As we can see, we could pick Jake if we'd want to, and then we'd have a hearing date, or actually the hearing date would probably be like the 15th or in the past. Now, this is where we get to choose again. Do we know how many questions are given by this representative, or are we unsure? It might just grow. So we have the option to either do 1 through 10 questions. So that means it's a template type format where things are preset, or you choose ad hoc, and that will let you create as many question answer pairs you would like to create. Does anyone have any questions on that? I'm trying to talk a little slow.
So, hi, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So I get a lot of questions for the record that will say 5, like question 5, and then it has like 5A, B, C, all the way down to E. It's like several sub questions under one question number 5. How would you handle that in here?
Yep. So that would be ad hoc. And what you would do is every question and sub question pair would be a combination. And I can get into that when we start doing the doc assemble about how you can kind of tag and say like 1A, 2A, 3A, 4A, you know what I mean? And those would be all sub questions, part of the A question, if that makes sense. So it is doable, definitely is doable, but you would not do a template way. A template way would mostly be, they are predefined question answers, and you might have 7, and it's just straightforward. Here's my question, here's my answer. But if you think it's going to be more meticulous than that, I would choose the ad hoc way. Now, again, if we have time at the end, I'll go through and we'll create some of these, but it has to pull down some SharePoint files, and that does take a minute, and I don't want to waste a minute. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the QFR management, which is kind of that main dashboard here. Now, what I want to do is, firstly, I guess I can show you, this is called my second QFR. This was built using the bulk creation. And I just want you guys to see the data when it loads in here. See, these are all those combinations, and it was in that flat file, like over here. Hopefully that makes sense to everyone. This is just an example of it going through and doing all the creation. So it had looks like maybe 15 or 16 that it had to go through and create. And then this is an example of a template one. But again, in this case, this is a template, but the client has defined their question IDs. So now let's go back, and I'm going to go back up. And now we're going to go and hopefully keep this nice and slow. This one right here, the LoB forum demo, I created earlier this morning, basically as a precursor, has a lot of this data preloaded. So we don't have to sit around and wait for the SharePoint files to be pulled down. But one of these is a ad hoc, and the other one is a template. And so I'm going to step in here. So this one is ad hoc. We can tell by the plus sign in the upper corner here. This is where users can hit the plus sign and add a question, give the question an ID of some sort, a background, if any, a due date, if any, and then assignment. Now, obviously, the assignment will change based on your department. Obviously, you're going to have different people and different groups that you're going to assign things to, so that would change. Any questions there? Okay. Now, we have, in this case, we have our representative, and I have a question. Well, the background is I have a few questions about dogs. So let's look into this one. I can choose to right click and choose this button that says update item if I need to get access to it. And basically this is your configuration of the question that you're going to give to the end user that's going to do the response. So in this case, I have, what does a dog look like? And so I'm asking EDA what a dog looks like. Now they are going to have this page, which is basically the end user page. This is what they see. This is where they'll be. This is mostly where they'll work. They won't be touching any of those other screens. Those are more so for your upper management that are actually kind of doling out the work to the end users. As we can see here, we see the information about this specific question. I can't change any of this information. It's locked. I can kind of select it, but it's locked. My question here is, what does a dog look like? Now, we have a iframe right here, and this is basically the SharePoint file that they'll be responding on. Now I have, here is a dog, but that doesn't really tell me what a dog looks like. Now, if this is further along in the workflow, I, as an admin, would probably demote this and comment. Now, emails are turned off for us, but I would comment and say that response did not meet what we were expecting, yada, yada, yada. Now, say they go do that, I could promote it forward. This is basically me just showing you guys the workflow, that there's multiple steps here, and this is where OMB would be involved, kind of reviewing what these responses are. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. I'm going to look at my desktop. I have an image of a dog, and I'm going to try to copy that. I'm going to enter, and I'm going to paste that. And I'm going to say, here is a dog. That's a great dog. Look at that dog. Okay. So now we're going to give it a second to save. So our thing is saved. Now I'm going to go back. We're going to give it a second for SharePoint to load. And on the left-hand side here, what you see is I would call it the outline document. Now, in this case, we only have one question response. Others, we might have a lot. We might have 10, we might have 20, could be a lot. How this works is, if you have a template that's predefined with so many questions, the system will try its best to kind of set it up for you. And we're going to look at one of those next. But in this case, we're doing it kind of ad hocly, adding as we go. How you're going to build your assembled document is by right-clicking this item list, and you can copy the question tag. This question tag will go into your document, and you can define how it's built. You can add header information here if you so choose to, page breaking. You can add bolding, like if I want to say here is going to be bold, you bold that. Now, that's the question. That's the question I sent them. That is, if I hit update item, that's this question. What does a dog look like? That's going to be my question tag. Now, say I need now my answer. I need the SharePoint file that they're working on to be embedded into this. We can right click and choose copy answer tag. And if we see here, if I paste, it is the tag for the SharePoint file where we just put that image of a dog. Does anyone have any questions at this point?
There is a question in the chat, Dane.
Yep.
Call Mulbauer. Does the app automatically send the question to the respondent assigned?
Yes. When emails are turned on, yes, it will send out a link to get back into the tool itself to get to that page. Depending on who we work with, we could also set it up to purely just send the SharePoint file, like a link to just the SharePoint file, and then they could work on the SharePoint file technically outside the system and respond to it. The issue there is they wouldn't see what the question is. So it might be something where, oh, we send an email that says, oh, the question is, what do dogs look like? Here's a link to the SharePoint file. Please respond in a timely manner, something of that nature. Now, obviously, it changes based on the bureaus you have assigned to it. So that's part of this too. So if you have 3, 4 bureaus assigned, then you're going to be emailing a wider audience as well. Hopefully that answers that question. All right, we good?
Thanks, he says.
Very good. All right. Now we're going to go back to our dashboard and we're going to look at this other individual, David. So David here doesn't have the plus sign. This one, David, was set up in a templated way. So we have just a 2 question answer pairs. Now, obviously, you can go and change this. It doesn't have to say question 1 and answer 1, so on and so forth. But in this one, I have some questions about the cat budget. So let's dive into one of these and see what's going on. So I have in this one, what is the budget for FY 2022, 2023, and 2024? So in this case, what I did is I ended up putting a little table in here. And this has some budget numbers. These numbers are in millions. Should put that somewhere. Anyways, so as we can see, this is the FY for these 3 years. And then we have our list of different items. And now this would be like your response. Now you could promote it forward. So say we promote it forward. Yep, yep, yep. And now it's in division chief review. Now that person might say, oh, actually, there's a lot more other information to be had. There's cat toys that I want to separate out from extra, because extra I associate with like Christmas things. Those are extra. Anyways, so they could do that, or they could send it back. And again, all of this workflow will kick out notifications. So as you press a button and it moves forward, it's going to tell the next person, hey, knock, knock, time for some work to get done. So all of this is just really the management of these kind of answer responses. But what's the secret sauce here? So the end result that we're trying to do here is to assemble all of this together. Now, we have 2 buttons here. We have preview publication and generate publication. Now, preview publication, what this is going to do when I click it, is it's going to basically try to download the assembled document. Oh, we get an error. Always fun. Now, part of this is we're accessing SharePoint files and I'm like jumping out of them. So they need a little bit of time to kind of refresh themselves, if that makes sense. Now, obviously, when you do this cycle, you're not going to be entering, now going into like, the people are going to have some time, right, to review these things and to enter data. And once they're finalized and it's gone through the whole workflow and got to the end, that's when we would be doing this assembly. And we can check in on this other one just to make sure we have some data in there. I'm going to double click. And this is, what does a cat look like? Kind of like our other response. And in this case, we have a cat image in here. This is a cat. We're going to go back. So this looks all good. Give it a second to load and we'll try to preview publications again. Come on now. Okay. Doesn't like that. Let's refresh here. Am I right? All right, we'll try one last time here. Let's see if we can get this. There we go. Like I said, there's slight timing and our SharePoint needs some love. We've done some updates in our stage environment, trying to get it ready for the production, which is where we are right now. Now, what you're seeing is the system is polling, it is working. But again, this is all on your computer side. If you were to step away or walk away or like close out of this in any fashion, the job will stop. It will not download, nothing will happen. But we have a solution for that. and we'll get into that after this is generated. There we go. And now we're going to go click this, open up Word. And there's our pretty, what is the budget? Then we're plopping out that table. Now we're on to our second question. What a cat look like? What does a cat look like? With this is a cat. Now, obviously, preview publication is mostly meant to preview, run it, make sure the formatting looks right. If it doesn't, you have your other document on the side, and I'll close this. You have your document right here where you could say, oh, I need to add a header tag, or, oh, I need to add, I don't want this answer one in front of my, in front of their answer that prints out. Gives you that option. So now what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do the generate publication. The generate publication, or actually, any questions before I move on to generate publication?
So there's a header. So if you have headers and footnotes and things like that, can you preset those up? So like multiple senators, you know, I get some from this senator set of questions. We usually have the header for that senator. Then the next senator set of questions, there's a header for that particular senator. And there's footnotes and things like that. How do you manage that in a system like this?
So if it would be this representative, you would add a header for this representative in this document, because this document is the final representative document. We're going to get to the QFR document, which is next. Well, we got to get there though. So you would just add it. You would like double click in here. I don't know how to insert.
Oh, okay. Just the same way you would normally.
Yeah,
do.
yeah. It's
Okay.
literally a Word doc. You could choose to something if you as the client were like, oh, I really would like a button that I press and it opens up in a new tab to edit in Word, or directly opens in Word itself. We could do that. This is just more a preview so that you can kind of quickly see, okay, these are my tags set up. This is how it's formatted, right? And then if you really wanted to get detailed, we could do, again, and this is just preposterous, but we could do maybe something where you upload a base, right? So you have a button that says, oh, I don't like this file. I want to upload my own base SharePoint file that I'm going to work from. We could do that as well. These are all just kind of like tweaks and things that we can do for you guys. Okay, so then let's get to the generate publication. So, did I answer your question, ma'am?
I think so. I'm just trying to keep all the questions organized by different representatives or senators, and so, so I'll keep watching, and maybe it'll show this. I'll get a better understanding.
Okay. All right. So now we're on to generate publication, and you see how it has this little icon that looks like a cloud? This is because this will actually do all the work on the server side. This is great because you can press this, walk away. And I'll show you, we're actually going to navigate away from this page and go look at something else. We can come back here and it will be basically ready for us. So that is a great power that we have. You can kind of, and once I click this, we'll see it's basically saying, feel free to close this pop. It's going to do its own thing. It's off to the races. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go return to the dashboard. I got stuff to do with Jake or something. Maybe Jake representative questions are delinquent. I need to go in here and do something, reassign maybe. Maybe I need to get, yes, question? No? All right. So say I go in here, gotta maybe change some text here or there. All right, go back up. Maybe my file will be ready. I'm gonna go into Dave. All righty. What we're gonna do now to see is there's this document generation queue. We're gonna expand this, and we're gonna see these are the jobs that are running on the server side. Once they're done, they're gonna say not in use. The one that's that I just pressed and we went away and we came back says it's ready for download. So that means I can right click this and I get a download file to Jira. Now I'm going to click that and it's going to work. It's going to basically pull that data down and pull it into my Jira instance. And so now when I look at publication files, we can see that, and obviously there's some little cleanup formatting things we gotta finish on here to make this a little bit more human readable. But basically your file will be there, and it's generated. It's got the date, who did it, and now that will live on forever, basically as a record, right, of this generation. So at this point, we could actually click it and we could download it and see what it looks like. And say, this is our cat one, love the cat one. So boom, that's on the server side. It's been renamed to my representative. So this is kind of like the representative doc. Does anyone have any questions about this before I move on? And let me know if I'm going too fast. All right. Now what we're going to do is, say we've gone through the cycle, or I shouldn't say cycle, we've gone through the process of moving all of our question and answer pairs all the way to the end. They've been approved by OMB and the whatnot. And now we've generated our representative file and we're done, we're ready. So then we're gonna click the home button. And on the outside piece, so this is the blob form demo QFR for the house, we have a little folder icon here, little folder. I'm gonna press the folder, and the folder is going to take us to a dashboard where we can generate the end QFR. This is set up that if you've generated a document, this is gonna be green over here in the representative name. If you have not generated a document, it will be red to show to you that you shouldn't really add that to the order to be generated, as there is no file that was generated. Excuse me. At this point, this page saves your order. So if you decide to kind of, you already know for this QFR grouping for the house, I'm always going to do my members in a certain order. Once you put them over here, they'll be locked in, they'll be saved. You can choose to right click and you have move to the top, move up one, move to the bottom, move down one, remove from the list if you so choose to. So all of these are really powerful, kind of let you design how you want this thing to load. And then we're going to hit the generate button. And cross my fingers. We're going to get the data, and it looks like we did. And now we are going to do the same thing. We're going to pull. Now, right now, we've only built this for the user side. So that means you have to kind of hang out here while this is working. But in due time, for sure, we're going to be able to do it on the server side because this will probably be more robust. This will probably be to have like 10, 15 representatives with a document that could be 20 to 30 to 50 pages long, being all assembled together. So we're going to wait for this to finish. And why this is running, does anyone have any questions? Anything they'd like to ask? All right, there we are. So we got that file saved, and now we're going to go here and we're going to click to view it. And there's our first part, which we remember before. And now we have the dog question information. Now, I didn't go and generate the updated dog, so that's why we're not seeing the image in there, because I had previously generated the document with just this. But what we would do then is you'd see this, you'd have to go back and regenerate their updates with them adding in, they added the dog image in there. But really, it should never get to this point of QFR generation without it being reviewed multiple times and making sure that that end generated document on the representative is correct. All right, that's basically the start to finish when it comes to doing these QFRs. Does anyone have any questions? Anything they'd like to see? I could add a representative here in our demo one. so people can see that load. Let's do this person and.
Yeah, Dane, and I'm not sure we showed the user manager
Oh, yes,
dashboard as
yes.
well.
Thank you, Allison. Okay. So the end user, this was mostly just for the upper individuals that are kind of managing the QFR, making sure it's all doled out correctly and people are working on it. But the actual workers are going to be in the user management section, and they're going to see a dashboard that looks something like this. They're going to see the QFR kind of cycle that they would be in. Obviously, I'm seeing everything because I'm a super user and I kind of have access to all these things. But based on permissions, it's going to be a very small subset. So your user might come in here and only see 1 or 2 questions. They might see a past question from past years, but it might be in the closed out or archived status. So then they would look at ones that are the more recent ones, right? What they do then is they go in and they click in. This is going to load them to the page we were looking at before, where the end user is clicking in and adding images of dogs. Well, hopefully budget information. Any questions there? All right. So and another thing too, I pressed that home button. It took me here. If you're not in the admin group, it wouldn't take you here. It's going to take you to your user dashboard where you're going to be kind of locked into kind of what you see. All right, so now maybe we see another question come up. I'm going to go in here and let this ad start so we can see this. It's going to take a minute or two. I'll just do one question. Hearing date was on the 9th. I'm the point of contact, and the description is DES. I'm going to click that ad. We're going to let that create. It's going to take a little bit, but we can kind of talk and discuss here for a second. Does anyone have anything that they'd like to bring up?
Greg has a question.
Yes?
Hi, thanks so much for this. I've been wanting to see. I know you've been working on improvements. So I'm interested in what type of support organization does the agency need to have in place to kind of arrange around the admin for this and getting users set up, and what kind of staff was put in place to help you implement this?
I mean, it's really straightforward, Greg, when it comes to, it's just like the other systems we have where it's that table grid. Really what you're doing here is you just need to tell us, and I can get to the admin space then once this is done. And this is why I didn't want to do the live creations, guys. As you can see, it kind of took a minute, but it does get there. We are working on SharePoint to be faster. It's just one of the things we're working on. So Greg, let me take you to the admin space. It's basically like a lot of our other tools. You only really have your members, so your House, Senate, so who you go and want to have, and then your permissions and notifications. We could split them separately if you wanted to notify different users, because I know that's something you have. But in this case, it's basically whoever gets the permission, those are the people who get notified, right? And most of it is, it's at the lower level when it comes to them actually responding, when they're actually entering data in that big space with the SharePoint. That's where most of these end users are going to be reviewing kind of what they've entered, right? When you get to those higher levels, those are really mostly just, it would be VA for your case, or the agency that's running this, right? You guys are kind of managing, what is my QFR? It's the House. Well, who are the people that need to be assigned, or who are my record members? But again, and we can help you with that. We can help you build this flat file, Greg. We can help you build this so that you could upload it and it will just do it all for you.
Yeah, that's kind of the nuts and bolts I was getting to. It's you need to know who are your committees, who are the congressmen. That changes every 2 years, so you have to get that set up. Who are the responsible offices reporting it? Then who are the people in those offices that need to touch it? So that's the admin side of it. You have to understand your whiteboard of who's doing what before you can put it into a tool. And that's kind of what I wanted to see the background for. So thank you.
Yep. And
I think we had another question, Dane.
Yep. I just want to show the assignee. There's also then the assignee. And this here is that assignment piece that we saw, those grids. what you're seeing here is you can kind of default something if you'd like to. You could basically say, I want to have NIST always assigned when you do it. I want it just a default to that, right? Now, a lot of cases you might not want that at all. So in this case, we have it all false. But we can set stuff up where when you assign it, it's going to give them a specific group, but it reads off this above group. We could do permissions however you want. We could do them, they kick off when you do the bulk create, or we could have them wait, and when you go in and kind of promote it forward, then it could notify. Again, all that power is up to the client and to the individual that we work with. But yeah, what's that other question?
Cynthia.
Hello. Does this system have a tracker, a reporting feature to say how many questions have been answered, how many are still unanswered, and what stage they're in?
Not currently, but we definitely could do that. It's not hard to, we have all that data. It's all retained here about their statuses. If anything, we'd probably do a duration report, which means we could show how long for how many minutes and hours a QFR would sit in a given stage. So we give you that kind of dashboard then, right? So then you could say, okay, I'm looking at NIST, and they sat in their stage for 21 days. What's going on? Let's bother them. So yes, we could definitely build that out for you. Any other questions?
Okay, well, we've got 4 minutes left. Anyone? So if you're interested in the QFR tool, there is, we don't have the slide deck up, but there is an email for the line of business, and you should have the slide deck. You can contact the line of business and get in touch with us, and we can set up a time to talk about it and see what your requirements might be.
Yep.
Right. Well, thank you, Dane, and thank you, Aisha.
Thank you both. Thank you, Dane. Thank you, Allison. Thank you to our ASL interpreters as well for joining us today. Thank you to all of you who participated today. Just a reminder that we will be sending out that post-session survey today at the end of the forum, and we would greatly appreciate your feedback. And then we look forward to having you at the last session today for the forum. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you again to our speakers for presenting this very insightful information.
Thank you.
Thank you.